Welcome back to KMM Tech. My name is Kyle. Um, we have not done a video in a very, very long time. It's been years. There are lots of reasons behind it, job changes and all sorts of crazy stuff. The biggest reason I think is just I got kind of happy with the smart home and where it was, and I didn't feel the need to tear stuff apart. The idea behind building a smart home for me is I want it to work, and I want to make my life easier, and I got mine to a point where it was functioning and it did all of that and more. And that's I was happy there. I didn't see the need to add new stuff or try new things because, quite frankly, it was working, and that's what I wanted my smart home to do. Um, since all of that has happened, I've actually moved just a few minutes away from where I used to live, and I've been here about 7 weeks now, I think. I've got none of my smart home set up. I brought some stuff with me, a lot of stuff I left behind. Um, my Ring doorbell I left behind. I left behind my Nest Learning Thermostat. I left a bunch of sensors behind because they were screwed into the wall, and the way the move ended up working, it was just chaos at the end. And I didn't have time to take all my sensors with me. So there are door sensors and motion sensors at the old house still. Um, which I'll be replacing. And I'm sure would have been more cost effective to bring them with me, but I didn't. But that brings us to the new video. And because all of this is new, I'm going to start from scratch. So because I'm missing sensors and all that sort of stuff, and I didn't bring everything with me, we're going to do a lot of new installations. And I think the first thing, let's see if I've got it. Where did I put it? Got stuff everywhere. There it is. So I left the Ring doorbell. They said I could take it with me. I just did a Ring doorbell installation at my job, and it's horrendous. Part of it is a Wi-Fi thing, and the other part of it is I don't know. It's just things have changed. I think the newer rings I think are not as reliable. This one was a battery one. Mine was hardwired, which I don't know that makes a difference. But I decided to make the change to go local because Habitat's local. I'm going to try and keep everything as local as I possibly can. So I picked up a Eufy doorbell. The Eufy doorbell runs locally on your network. It's a better camera. It's more higher resolution, so it's 2K versus whatever the Ring doorbell is. It's a different perspective as well. The Ring doorbell's got a wider lens. I don't need the wider lens where I am. That's one of the reasons at work I went with the Ring doorbell because it was in this little alcove and I wanted to see the whole alcove, so I went with the Ring because I could see the whole little area. I don't need that with my current installation, so I'm going Eufy. The problem that I have with my doorbell, and this would have been any doorbell that I bought, my house is older, and I see this in a lot of the older houses, and even some of the newer houses. The molding next to the door, where the doorbell was kind of wedged in, is so small that I can't fit the doorbell. So I'm going to be building that out with a new piece of molding, and I haven't figured out. I have an idea in my mind how it's going to work, but we'll get to that at some point, and I'll show you that build process of how I'm going to build the molding out and then basically reframe the door essentially with molding, I think. But I have to get out there and look. So I have an idea of how I'm going to do that. The other thing that I ran into was my switches. So I had a whole mess of GE switches, which worked great. I did have a few areas where the switches failed. Um, One spot in particular, I went through, I think, 3 or 4 different switches. And I had a problem electrically there. There was a GFI, it's on a GFI circuit, and the GFI kept tripping. And I think that eventually killed the outlet, or the switch rather. So I never fixed it. I didn't know whether it was actually water getting in, or whether it was just doing its job, or whether the actual GFI circuit was faulty. So I replaced the switch a bunch of times, and I probably should have just gone and replaced the GFI outlet just to, because it probably would have saved me some money. But I had another one in my kitchen which never had power outages or much fewer power outages, and that one died too. So maybe I got a couple bad batches. I don't know. So I decided, and I thought about doing this at the old house several times. Moving over to, where is it? I just had it here. Nope. There it is. The Lutron Caseta system. So this is the SmartBridge Pro. The SmartBridge Pro is what you need for Habitat. So if you're Habitat users, you want the Pro version. The Pro version gives you Telnet, and that's how Habitat communicates with this hub. So if you don't have that, I don't think it works. There might be an application or someone written something that will use the cloud version of Caseta. But if you want to keep stuff local, definitely get the Pro version. Like I said, there might be a workaround to the cloud stuff. I don't know that for sure, so don't quote me. Get the Pro thing. So what I've done is I've got a fan switch over there which I'm playing with, and I've got a couple three-way kits. The problem that I have with the Lutron stuff, so I hear that they're very reliable. They've been around forever. I know that. My problem with the Lutron stuff is they're expensive. So the hub is $130, I think. The switches start at 60, which is $20 more than the GE switches. But if I'm not going to have the failures that I'm going to have, cool. This one is the three-way kit, which comes with the Pico remote, which is over here. The Pico remote, and then this is the switch. So this goes in one spot. Then you basically cap off the other switch and replace it with a remote. So you're really not using a three-way circuit anymore. You're using just a one-way switch, single pole switch. I'll show you how the installation goes when I get to installing these. But these I think were $90. And I think the GE kits were like 65 for the three-way. I don't quote me on that one again, but I actually like these better because when you have the remote, you can actually pull the remote off and use it as an actual remote, so it pops off the plate. They're really cool. So I've got that. Like I said, I've got the fan switch also. What I haven't figured out is the wiring in this house is a little bit weird. That's the other thing. Before I get to my wiring, the cool thing about these switches, the GE switches that I had previously, require a neutral wire. In the new place, I didn't know whether I was going to have neutral wires everywhere. So these do not require a neutral wire. So you can just replace them and, just go with that. The GEs do require a neutral wire. So if you're in a spot where you don't have neutral wires in your switch box, Lutron is the way to go. So I've got a weird situation, and I don't know whether it was just bad people or people who didn't understand what they were doing. So in my bedroom, I've got a fan that's got one of those little remote controls to turn it on and off. The switch on the wall does nothing. And the switch that's there has got two hot wires going to it. Don't know why. Don't know where they're going. And then one of the hot wires, it's tied to two more hot wires behind the wall. I've had a couple of my friends look at it who are far better with electric than I am, and they can't figure it out. So I might have to get an electrician in. I might just cap them off and then run a wire to my new fan switch up to the fan and then just bypass the whole thing and be done with it. Because currently that switch that's on the wall, I don't know what it does. I flipped it. I've checked all the outlets in the room. It doesn't do anything. And like I said, it's got two hot wires going to it. I don't know. So once I get that figured out, I'll do the fan installation. So the fan has got the same kind of setup like this. The difference is that this is just an on-off switch. The fan actually has a different. In fact, let me grab it quickly. Just make sure the dog's not behind me. So here's the fan switch. Let's see if we can get. There we go. So you have this is the light dimmer on off, and then fan on off, and then it comes with also a remote that you can put like next to your bed, so you can, wire it into your Habitat and control it that way. But you still have like the option to control it from your bed via remote. And I'm sure we can set up routines through Alexa or Google Home to do um, fan on, fan off, that sort of thing. But I never played with one before, so that's the fan switch. So that's that. We did doorbell, we did light switches. So the other thing, when I was moving out, I said, "Hey, do you want my Nest Learning thermostat?" And they said, "Yeah, that should stay." I said, "Okay, fine." I really like my Nest Learning thermostat. My big issue is that now that they're moving away from the Nest logins to the Google logins, when you make that switch over to the Google login, last I heard, and this could have changed again, Habitat cannot support that because there's no API, and that's so yeah. I was looking for options, and I actually almost made this switch while I had my Nest Learning thermostat because I was kind of freaked out that the Google was just going to force me into making that switch. They didn't, but this is one that I've been looking at for a long time. This is the Zen Thermostat. Um, it's a very simple looking device. So it's just a little white tile that sits on the wall, and then it lights up like that. It comes in Zigbee. It comes in Wi-Fi. This is the Zigbee version. So I'm going to connect that to the thermostat on the wall and go from there. Yeah, I think that's about it. So the other thing that I was kind of contemplating is whether I'm going to stay with Habitat or not. And I love Habitat. It's been a great platform. My concern with Habitat has got nothing to do with the product. I think the product is awesome. My problem with it is I don't know how sustainable their business model is. I think about, all these other smart home things. There's Smart Things and Wink and all those others. There's something that's there monthly, like a subscription fee, and I'm so happy that Habitat doesn't have one. But my concern is they've got a bunch of developers working for them, driver builders and software guys. I don't know how sustainable it is for them to keep the business going. Because their stuff it works and it's stable. Once you have a hub, I have the original Habitat hub that came out, years ago. In fact, I was looking for a hub. I was using SmartThings at the time. Found Home Assistant, and I bought the dongle for Home Assistant, and Amazon was like, "Hey, you bought this. You should check out this." And it was Habitat, and I bought it right away. I never built the Home Assistant because Habitat works so well. My concern is that Habitat might go away, and I have no reason to say that other than their stuff is great. And when it works and you only need to buy one, how do they keep the lights on is my concern. And I think Home Assistant has a big community of developers because it's all open source, and you have people who are just building stuff because they need it, which is the advantage, I think. That being said, I think that the folks that I've seen anyway doing Home Assistant builds are far more techy than I am, and I'm a pretty technical guy, but there seems to be a lot of coding involved and stuff that is over my head. That's why I like Habitat, because I can do everything I need without writing code, which is awesome. So yeah, that's where we're at. I still might try the Home Assistant thing. That curtain back there is a closet. There's going to be a server rack in there with a server running Docker, so I could run a Docker installation on it of Home Assistant. Maybe, possibly, I don't know. I've got plenty of Raspberry Pis floating around. In fact, Raspberry Pi, get their Home Assistant on this. I've got the dongle for it, the Zigbee Z-Wave dongle. I think I'm going to start up with Habitat. So I'm going to show you my plan anyway is to start up with Habitat and go from scratch. I'm basically going to take a backup of my last instance of Habitat and wipe it, start from scratch. So we'll start documenting that process. I need to kind of figure out what lights I want to change first, and then add them and start making rules. So, and that's part of that has always been, like, how do you build a smart home? It's you kind of you want to find the pain points, and I've been here for 7 weeks, and I've got some pain points. Things like when I leave for work in the morning, um, there's a hall light, so I have a bi-level. I go down the stairs to the, essentially the basement to walk out the garage door, and I've got no light. Um, there's a light by the front door, but there's no switch in the basement to turn it off. So, I have to walk down in the dark or turn off the switch when I leave. So, um, I'm gonna start. That'll probably be the first switch I replace is it's a three-way switch between my upstairs and right by the front door. There's no switch in the basement, so that's probably where we'll start. Is that switch? Um, the other switch that is a pain point is my bedroom. That's what we talked about with the fan and the weird wiring. So once I get that figured out, that'll alleviate that pain point. Um, but yeah, that's where we're gonna start from there. And so I'm gonna next couple of videos we'll start. I'll show you how to do a backup of Habitat. We'll do a complete wipe of Habitat, and then start adding stuff again. Like I said, I left a lot of stuff there. I left my Nest Learning Thermostat, my Ring doorbell. I left a bunch of sensors there because at the end of the day, like I was crazed just trying to get out of there. I had issues with the moving company, and I didn't have time to take all the sensors with me, and it was the furthest thing from my mind, and I didn't know what I was going to need. So, there'll be some new sensors and some new stuff. But yeah, so I hope you kind of join me for the journey. It's going to be fun. I'm going to sign off for now, and we'll see you in a couple weeks. I'm not sure how these videos are going to come out. They might come out monthly, every couple of weeks. I don't know. They're going to come out when they come out. I made a real effort back in the day to do them every week. That's not going to happen. So um, we'll put them out as fast as we can and as consistently as we can, but I make no promises. With that, I'll see you guys later. See ya.